Hello, Renee Flamond here. You guys, this is another big one. I think they're all big ones because I think this experience of being with a narcissist leads us to a lot of huge lessons and things that we learn and can take from it. And the unconditional love, I think what happens is, okay, let me start over. I think what often happens, oftentimes, I think I figured it out. We say we love them. We add unconditionally, even if it's not out loud, even if it's only in our heads, we tell ourselves, I love this person unconditionally. Okay. Then as time unfolds, this is how I think, this is what I think happens. Then as time unfolds and occurrences pile up, bad occurrences pile up, we concentrate on that thing that we told ourselves. We don't want to go back on it. We don't want to abandon them because that's not unconditional love. We want to stand strong in our commitment to love unconditionally. I'm going to get to how I'm going to debunk all this. We don't want to disappoint ourselves in canceling our love to them after a certain betrayal or after so many betrayals, right? We said unconditional, we promised them, we said we wouldn't leave them, we told them this, and even if they're misbehaving, we're not taking back what we said. We're not going back on our word. We fancy ourselves upright people. We don't promise things and not follow through. That's not how I like to see myself. I'm sure you feel the same way about yourself, right? We don't want to do that. We don't say we feel so strongly, as unconditional love is such a strong feeling. We don't say that we feel so strongly and then take it back. We're not in the habit of doing that. What does that say about my level of conviction? What would that mean? Would that mean I'm wishy-washy? Does that indicate I don't know what or how I feel? And I don't think any of these questions or many of these are conscious. But I think that's the sense of why we feel we cannot take it back. How can I go forward and know myself if I go back on this? Who am I then? I'm someone who said this, yet now feels abandoned herself by this very person, yet I said I unconditionally love them, but they're abandoning me. I told them I wouldn't abandon them. I'm so confused, and it's overwhelming. Here's the thing. Here is the big however. However, loving unconditionally does not mean that you are required to accept ill treatment, but you love them anyway. No, nowhere in the unconditional love section of life's book does it say, ooh, you have to take everything they dish out. No. Loving unconditionally does not mean that you abandon anything you value as important in the way of how you'd like to be treated back and just accept anything and everything they throw at you. That's not what it means. That's not what loving unconditionally means. And I want to make sure we talk thoroughly about that, because I think that people do that. They accept it. Well, I told them I'd love them unconditionally. Bam! I told them I'd love them unconditionally. Boom! I told them I'd love them unconditionally. Boom! Like you're like a weeble. Remember the weebles? Like you're not going down. You're just going to stand there and take it because you told them you would. You told him or her, your pronoun is your own, that you would love them unconditionally. Loving unconditionally does not mean accepting their every move regardless of how much it hurts. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And we haven't even gotten to the fact yet that their love, their fake love, is extremely conditional. Please. Shouldn't unconditional love go both ways? That is a love that needs to go both ways. I think. Maybe it doesn't always. I don't know, parents and children. I hope children feel the same for their parents as parents do for their children. And I hope all parents feel about their children that they love them unconditionally. But who knows what mathematical combinations are possible out there in the world. But I know that I want any unconditional love that I feel, I want it to be reciprocal. Absolutely. That's the most kind of love you can give, the unconditional kind. And I'm not going to be alone. I especially don't want to be sitting around in this unconditional love boat by myself. Are you kidding me? I especially don't. I don't like that. I don't want to be the only one in love here. No, that's not something I'm interested in. There's no way unconditional means I need to forgive you again for mistreating me. That's another one. How many times do you forgive and you think, well, forgiveness is part of unconditional love? Yes, it is. That's correct. But I would like you to reserve the forgiveness and the unconditional love for someone who is more deserved. Saying that you love this person unconditionally, don't let that lead you down the path of, oops, I gotta forgive him again. I told him I'd love him unconditionally. There isn't any way unconditional love means you get to lie to me and I need to accept it. That isn't what it means either. That is not it at all. Unconditional love does mean that you love them despite any conditions. That is what it means. But I think it's okay for us to expect a certain level of decorum and respect back to us. Right? Unconditional love couldn't possibly expect me to renegotiate my way through this relationship to make it acceptable for me, barely tolerable for me, repeatedly until the end of time. That's what unconditional love wants me to go through? I don't think so. And I think a lot of this is what we do to ourselves. I do. And we promised. We heard their sad tales of others abandoning them. We were going to show them different. We were going to love them so much, their goodness will prevail. We promised them. But you know, you were assuming, I was assuming, that they had goodness inside of them when we said that. We all go through where we think we're going to bring out the good in them with our unwavering love. That's assuming they're equipped to even receive that kind of love. And they are not, as we know. Once it is revealed that this person is not who they say they are, your responsibility to follow through ends. Your contract is null and void. They aren't the person, it turns out, that you promised your unconditional love to. That wasn't even a real person at all. So why we keep on keeping on way longer than we should is, to me, more about us than it is them. You are a good person. You are loyal, honest, truthful. You don't want to retract something you offered that was so huge. That's understandable. That's understandable. You offered this unconditional love. You told yourself you were going to show it to them. You don't want to go back on it. It's like breaking a promise in your mind, even if it's subconscious. But I want you to remember how this all went down. This was not an honest exchange of two people getting to know each other, learning to care for each other, and arriving at unconditional love in a natural, wholesome, truthful way. That's not what happened to you. And now you're abandoning that person. That's not what's going on here. This was manipulation. That voids the contract you've made in your own head that you'll love this person no matter what. It just does. It voids that. You don't have to keep a promise. I spit again. I get very exacerbated. You don't have to keep a promise to someone who A, turns out not even to be that real person. B, turns out that they keep hurting you. And C, you're keeping the promise to yourself because you're about goodness. You don't want to go back on the own thing that you said in your mind. Guess what? You are off the hook. You're off the hook. Loving someone unconditionally does not mean you need to keep taking the abusive behavior that they're bestowing upon you. That is not the conditions of the love that you had in mind when you said it. And you might say, well, you can't pick and choose the conditions. Unconditional love is unconditional love. I get it, but I'd like to think that I'm bestowing upon someone unconditional love who has a reverence for me as well. Call me crazy, but that's what I expect from life. That's what I want in a relationship built on unconditional love. I'm not having it go one way so they can walk all over you for your whole life, but you're hanging in there because you're a buckaroo and you're a weeble who won't fall down, and you said you were gonna and you promised them, and you're not gonna be just like their rotten person who abandoned them, and this rotten relative who abandoned them, and this rotten relative who abused them, and this rotten friend who, stabbed them in the back. You're going to show them that people can be loyal. You're going to be the example of the end-all human who can be loyal and true and honest. Okay, that's admirable and everything, but you're doing it with somebody who's not doing it back to you. Well, again, unconditional love is unconditional. It doesn't matter if... Yes, it does. Yes, it bloody does. There's no way on earth you're expected to continually stay in pursuit of that line of thinking. I'm going to love them unconditionally when they have destroyed trust. They've destroyed you. Well, it's not based on truth. We know that. It's not based on a real person. We know that. So you can lighten up on yourself and go, I did it one day. I was like, no, you know what? I don't love you. I don't. There's nothing about you that's anything to do with anywhere I want to be with a person. You don't represent anything in life that I want. And the fact that people have, come and go in and out of your life, I absolutely understand why. You weren't abandoned. You drove people away. You weren't hurt. You did the hurting. Start flipping around the stories they've told you. All the woe is me stories that are maybe making you feel like you can't leave, or you have to love this person because they make you think no one else on the whole earth has ever loved me like you love me. Please don't stop loving me. I don't know what I would do. There's nobody else that loves me like this. Oh, please. That's them seeing if they can keep you loving them, even with what they've done to you. You don't need to maintain unconditional love in the face of such adversity and challenge and strife and turmoil and disruptive natures of how they are with you. That is not what unconditional love is supposed to be. And I wanted to mention this because I know a lot of people are swimming in that. And they just, I did for a long time. I'm like, I told him I was going to love him, and I feel bad where he's at. Start to look at what they told you they've been through and flip that around. Think of 25% of it as being true and give each tale they told you a new ending, that they were at fault. And it might help you snap out of unconditionally feeling like you have to still love them. Please go ahead and hit sub, like, and share, and I'll see you next time.